FilmStruggles is an experience-based podcast where we ask all the questions an early filmmaker would make.
With a new guest every week, from experts to people that are starting just like us.
We cover different topics like motivation, work balance, networking, and so much more.
We discuss what to do, what not to do, and how to turn struggles into action.
I am Claudia.
And I am Gabriel. Welcome to FilmStruggles.
It's Christmas time and we are all about family and work. Is it possible to achieve balance in this fast-paced industry? How can you give attention to family, work, having kids, writing, shooting, having a vegan diet, all at the same time? On this week's episode of FilmStruggles, we are searching for balance.
Our special guests for this week are the filmmakers Carrizales and Arun, creators, producers, and parents, wearing many hats at the same time. Ana is a Peruvian-Canadian writer, filmmaker, and producer, having directed and produced a number of films and short docs. Most recently, she produced the short sci-fi drama The Shipment, which was also produced by Arun, an award-winning filmmaker and media producer also based in Vancouver. The two of them hold laurels from festivals like Tribeca, Hot Docs, Palm Springs, and so much more. They are also producing instructors at the Vancouver Film School, and we sat down with them to talk a little bit about their experience balancing so many projects and raising a baby together.
We started to notice we didn't ask enough questions when we were at school. So we were not aware of what we didn't know until the day that we left school, and that we were like, okay, so this is the real thing. And now that I have experienced it, now I do have so many questions and so many things that we still wanted to talk.
And covering what Claudia said about like the topics being like things that we never thought about during school, and now we're facing those issues. We thought about the family and work balance, and immediately we thought about you too, because it's a family of filmmakers, and at least for us seeing outside, it seems like everything is very, very well balanced and going well. So we would love to get some like into your mindset and knowing how you're balancing things. And getting things done at the same time.
I kind of want to know too.
It's not a balance. It's a functional chaos.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Cold chaos.
We learned after having a baby how it is to work in chaos. Mm-hmm. Before, it was an exercise of reducing, avoiding chaos.
Okay.
Like before we had the baby, it's like, how can we be organized, more efficient? Mm-hmm. Right? Having process. And that was our main concern and our main trial and error sort of process. Uh-huh. Now it's, how do we survive? How to make our projects happen? How do we make a living? And how do we feel that we are good parents at the same time that we keep our partnership afloat, romantically speaking, and work professionally speaking. And some days you click some of the boxes. So some days you are super professionally efficient, like yesterday. Absolutely, yesterday I was super professionally efficient. I got a lot done. Even when Arun was working, I handled the kid. Arun was working, and while I was with the kid, I made a bunch of phone calls. We've got some funding for a documentary that we were going to work on.
Nice.
So
wow.
It was great.
Yeah.
The day before,
not so great.
I didn't get as much done. Arun did get a lot of things done. So the perfect metaphor that I have is that before having the child, I could not fathom working on a desk that wasn't neat and ready. And me having my tea with my favorite mug in my office and my pristine computer and my vinyl record playing, and off I go. I feel like an artist. Now I do work with beans on the counter and a bottle of milk pouring on my arms and grabbing my baby from one arm. So I learned how to work in chaos. And that actually has been, for me particularly, the biggest test to realize that I do love what I do. Because if I loved it like 1% less, I would have simply not persisted, because it is unsurmountable, but I know that I am a better mom if I have a creative artistic life.
Mhm.
If I didn't have that, I wouldn't be that patient. But yeah, that's my
Mhm.
my tale of our
Mhm.
functional chaos.
Chaos doesn't bother me.
Well, that's a difference.
Yeah,
It never bothered him.
yeah. I was, okay, well, now's the new situation. Well,
Yeah.
let's just roll with it.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little more fluid in that sense.
Yeah, because Arun can work with almost anything on top of the counter or the table.
Yeah.
He just doesn't care.
No, I seem to have a weird ability to just shut off everything and just get so focused in that one task that I can close everything off, which is great in some cases and not great in other cases.
And I think that's our balance too. Yeah. I mean, you have to think that when the baby has a nap, that it's an hour and a half. That's it.
That we are taking advantage of right now.
That you're stealing right now. So feel that. So in that hour and a half, you would think that is an hour and a half, but it's not an hour and a half. It's just an hour and a half full process from when you put her asleep to when she wakes up. So I gotta make tough choices. I gotta say, okay, what am I gonna do? Dishes, shower, send an email, finish that paragraph of a proposal. Like I have to face some choices. So that is parenting, and being an artist and a parent. Your time becomes so precious that choices become the most important thing you're going to do during the day. And I'm starting to realize that when I wake up at 5:30 at 6 in the morning, that's great because the baby wakes up at 8. So those hours are the times where I can do writing. So that's when I do writing, because for writing, I need silence and focusing. I think that's how we roll.
You just make the most of every minute.
I'm loving it. And I it's funny that when I talk to students, when I said, oh, you love what you do, and then they think I'm just being like bubbly and happy, but I don't think they understand that when I'm saying it, I mean it. And I mean it in the context of life is going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's not about just loving it because you're bubbly. It's because you got to love it, because there's no other way you're going to sail through if you don't love it. I remember applying for the Women in Film Acting Mentorship Program when Gabrielle was 15 days old. And I was doing, in between the time she was waking up, the application at 3 a.m. in the morning.
You talked about like making tough decisions. Do you think because the two of you have a lot of experience producing, was it a little bit easier to make those tough decisions now that you have a third person involved in the dynamics of the house?
I think we both know what our priorities are, and it becomes easier to navigate. And sometimes there's no arguments or anything like that. We look at deadlines, for example, for proposals or grant applications, and we mark those on the calendars. We say, okay, we need to get this done. And then we just set aside time to do it.
The experience as producers that's been super helpful for us, and that's what we pass, or at least I pass it to the students, and I want to speak on your behalf, is that you understand that is stressful, so you're not surprised. When we're fill out an application, we know for a fact that we're going to be stuck with that document for a week. We know that technically speaking, something is going to go wrong. We know that expert is going to it's not going to work. It's going to take us double the time to do that expert because, hey, Murphy Law, when you don't have time and you have a baby, everything goes wrong. And we know that we were going to have to take turns with the baby. And we know that it's going to be long. So we know that. So we walk in knowing that. So when problems arise, we are in do it anyway mode. We're not like, what happened? The export. We're just like, okay.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, let's get it done. So we are stressed, like, don't get me wrong, like, because time's ticking for us. But we cope with stress as it's expected. We know it's going to happen. We work it through. And we know that the application is going to get done. It's like when students panic and you're like, when you were studying and students will panic and tell me, Ayana, I can't focus on your class because I haven't finished the paperwork and they're not going to allow me to shoot. And I'm like, no, you're staying in the class and you're going to listen to my class while you're stressed about your paperwork, because that is going to be live. Because believe me, you are going to pull through, you're going to finish, but my responsibility is to build your muscle.
Yeah.
So if your question was, can you let me go to work on my paper? The answer is no. And not because I'm mean, it's because the student needs to experiment that you're in a class, you're panicking, you're stressed, but then when it's over, you're going to do your paperwork and you're going to finish.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens, you finish.
Yeah.
But the muscle of coping through stress, that is something that we've learned with experience.
The hard way. I mean, so much of filmmaking and producing in particular is just problem solving. And as soon as you embrace that that's just part of the process, and it's almost baked into it, it almost becomes easier because you know what to expect. It's not a matter of if there will be problems, it's just a matter of when there will be problems, right? There's always going to be something to solve. And that, for me, that's half the fun. That's half the fun. Okay, how do we figure this out? How do we solve this? We try this angle, and that's just the nature of it.
I'm going to give you two scenarios so you get where we're at, right? Scenario number one, we have an application that is 50 pages long with multiple multimedia elements to it, complicated application that we have to shoot in 48 hours through story. Okay. That's one thing we need to do with the baby, teaching both in BFS and with all sorts of other projects going on, or attending a virtual appointment with an eye doctor for a baby who's asking us to take multiple pictures of her eye, looking up, down, left, right, like in an inkling,
I think there was 9
and
different
down.
directions.
Now, and then once you're done that, go turn off the light, put an app on your phone, and get the infrared picture of their pupils. That freaked us out. That was, and my baby is like 1 year and a half, right? And we needed to get that done in 30 minutes? Because we had the appointment in the middle of a pandemic. And Arun and I trying to problem freaking solve that issue. And we were like, what are you doing? She's not, try this, try that. Oh my God, I can't do it. No, let's not do it. Like, that was much more stressful than that application. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so that's how we look at life. Like, you have this application where it's your work. Yeah, it's complicated, but grab a baby and get it done. And by the way, we did get done. And the doctor said, congratulations.
Yay!
Just so you know. We team tag on that one. So
Quarantine Chronicles. That's amazing.
I think those example kind of tells you where we're at in our daily lives. Like that's it.
Because sometimes we're looking for a balance, but it's like you said, it's like just to go with the flow and just be comfortable in the chaos. But at the same time, I think that is also possible because you guys kind of like, you have each other and you are both kind of in the same world. Like, you both belong to film, and then you both have these whole projects in common and a life that you guys share. Sometimes, like, it has happened even to me that they said, like, if you work with your partner, it's not a good idea because it might ruin the relationship or anything down the road.
Yeah, I think you need to be committed to each other and to the projects. And I think we have sort of an unspoken rule that if we're ever going to sign on to any sort of project, we always check with the other person first, and we're both on the project. It's pretty rare that just one of us will do something apart from each other. It does happen.
Well, when I'm doing acting.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things that are differently, but most of the time, if we're producing, then we're both producing together.
Mostly with the baby. But I mean, I think that I have friends who are artists, who are married to non-artists and work beautifully. And I have friends who are married to artists and works awfully. I think balance is a lie. It's a lie. And it's just so corrosive to tell students or people that you should achieve for balance, because there are times where you won't have balance.
No.
And that puts an incredible amount of pressure. I think that in my case, I know I have to love what I do. I know I have to love my husband. I know I have to love my child. If that's not happening, then I need to look into it. I need to look at what's happening. But some days I'm gonna eat better, and I try to do it most often than not. Sometimes I'm gonna feel better, and I try to feel better more often than not. But there are some days where I'm not feeling better, when I'm not eating well, and when I'm not connecting with the baby, because that day she has data issues and only connects with data that day, and name snuggle, and mom is not part of the picture, and that day also had reflux, so it was like a awful day. Am I unbalanced? I don't know. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'm just, I think a student asked me like, so what are you doing in COVID? Because you look very happy. And then I'm like, no, I have a sense of humor. Happiness is a different thing. But yeah, I'm content. I'm going to check that box. And also, I'm trying to do what's right minute by minute. Like further than 5 minutes, I go insane because it's too much. It's a lot to do.
And I think that's partly because of Gabrielle, because she's only in the moment. She's just right then and there. And if you take your eyes off of that and thinking further, then she will pull you right back into the moment. Take that crayon out of your mouth
and also because
climb off of there.
Because I had a ton to do, and it just seems that it's not gonna get done if we think about it. Like, so I think that this idea of balance, it's utter bullshit. Just try to, like, if you love what you do and love your partner and love the things that you do, like, my advice for people would be build a life that you like, and then trust that everything is going to work out at the end. I don't think there's going to be balance. Like, that's just like, forget about balance. Just live and do the things that you need to do. And
survive
especially
right now.
For us, it's about survival, but it's also about loving what we do, reminding ourselves that we could be in a 9-to-5 job filling paperwork for the government. That could be. And because we don't love that, we will be terribly unhappy.
Because one of the things that also during the pandemic, that like you don't know what's gonna come and what we're gonna be doing next, and I even started to question like if going and pursuing film was a path for me, because I felt that I was not spending enough time with, like, even talking to my parents, or like here with my brother, with my husband. I was like working 15 hours a day, and even when I was in film school, like it was all day in school, because I treated school like I was a job, and it was like a job, and I was there and I was super focused. Maybe because I was also new, and you put all that pressure that you talk about on your shoulders, that you need to do everything perfect. What I would like to know is what has helped you to succeed on these projects, sort of like to give you that this peace and not to quit the fact, like your dream of like doing films, and to still be connected to your family.
I was actually going through a bit of an existential crisis as well, kind of similar to that. And then we chatted, I think maybe last week, a couple weeks ago. Well, first of all, I'm thinking about Gabrielle. What am I going to leave behind for her? And so I want to create a body of work that hopefully I can leave behind for her and create some sort of legacy. And now I'm and some of the projects I was a little on the fence about, now my motivation is actually more for her. And I find that's been keeping me going a little bit more, because I was starting to get like, I was starting to think, oh, what's the point of all of this? We're all just going to die anyway. Like going really extreme. But like, well, sure, that's one nihilistic approach. But then I thought, well, I have this little girl, the potato, we'll call her potato. I have this little potato that I love to death. And I'm so excited to build things for her now. I'm really excited. That's for me. And that was such a shift in my mind that I'm not even doing it for myself anymore. Now I'm doing it for somebody else, and it's actually giving me more joy and more motivation to keep on going, knowing that it's not just for me, it's not just for Anna, it's also for Gabrielle as well.
Yeah, but I think that if I understood your question well, is that we have long days and we have lots to do, and what do you give your time to, right? Because at the end of the day, you're like, oh, I haven't talked to my parents. So the way we do it is, for example, Gabrielle didn't have the chance to see her grandparents during the COVID-19. So every time we give her a bath, we're stuck there. We can't do anything else because she drowned. So we need to be there, making sure that she doesn't die. We FaceTime every night with her grandparents.
Yeah.
And they get to talk to her. We catch up, and we've talked every single night. So that connection happens. My family's in Peru, and they haven't had the chance to spend time with Gabrielle because I'm here, they're in Peru, so they're not enjoying her, right? I was going to go in April and I couldn't. So when I am giving her food, she's stuck on the chair, she can't do anything. I have to feed her because again she dies. And then I send a WhatsApp video. I do a WhatsApp video with my sister and my brothers and my niece and my nephew, and it's one after the other, and they all talk to her. Hey, how you doing? Count some numbers. Hey, whatever, right? So they are in contact with her almost every day. So when I get her to the swings, I pick up the phone like yesterday, and I call a couple of lawyers. What did I do yesterday? I called a couple of lawyers. I called a producer friend of mine. I got a lot done because I was on the phone while I was swinging her. So I didn't have to have like a deep conversation with her about life. She's just swinging. So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, I'm exhausted. But if I looked at yesterday, I talked to my friend Nick, who works in NFB, who gave me incredible advice to connect someone there. So I get stuff done. I connect to people because, again, we looked at our day because now it's so precious that weirdly enough, you get much more efficient than you've ever been. Because you take that minute and you killed it. So somehow we're still in the radar. We're still talking to our friends. We're still talking to our family. We're having a podcast with you. Right? Like tonight, for example, after we're going to Kelowna tomorrow, so we have to super clean the house because we're going for a week. We have to be with the baby. I have to send a couple of emails, and then I just got an audition for a commercial, and because of COVID, he now has to be in the audition. So after 10 p.m. that we put her asleep, we have to turn this house into a shooting space, and we have to shoot. So you know what I mean? Like our day is, and we have to pack for Kelowna. So probably I'm going to end up going to sleep at 1 a.m. or 2. But hey, I had a podcast. I talked to my sister already. You talked to a bunch of people.
Got a haircut.
Got a haircut. Like, to answer your question, am I exhausted at the end of the day? Yes. But I'm looking back at what I did.
Yeah, you celebrate everything, like each moment. Like you have to. Otherwise, you would feel like you are not doing enough, and you are.
But if you're commuting and you're not finding your mom from your commuting, that's a problem. If you are walking in the street by yourself and you're thinking, oh, COVID-19 is this thing, and we get into this poetic crisis and you're not picking up the phone to call your brother, that's a problem. That's what we're doing as parents. There's no time to, well, there is.
Wasted.
Time. I do sometimes. I go to a tree sometime, I hug the tree and I go like, oh my God, I'm so tired. That's okay. That's important too. But most often than not, I'm going to the pharmacy and I have 5 minutes and I call my friend Louise. I did it coming back from the swings. Hey, Louise, how are you doing? Right? Boom, boom, boom. Because otherwise it's a problem. Then what are we doing? So that's probably what people call balance. I don't know.
The so-called balance.
We'll call balance, yeah.
Just to pick up on something that you said, Arun, a little bit earlier, you talked about like leaving a legacy for Gabrielle. I wonder if for the two of you, if it changed, like the presence of Gabrielle now in your life changed your perception for like future projects and future concepts to approach in films, like more artistically speaking, like new scripts that you're developing or things like that for both of you, actually.
We only tackle projects and stories that we really believe in. Like, I mean, unless it's going to pay us phenomenally well,
which is not the case.
which doesn't happen very well, almost ever. So it really has to be projects and the stories themselves that they have to be meaningful. Otherwise, it can get really, you can get bogged down in just creating fluff, which is not really fun. And I don't want to look back and say, well, oh, we made this. Don't watch it though. I want her to be able to watch everything and be proud of it.
Having a baby is kind of, I think she's holding a mirror constantly. Like you have a witness of your shortcomings. So it is a witness that's letting you know, like on the spot what are your shortcomings are, and it just forces you to be better at every single level, not only artistically. Like it's not that you give birth and you become a perfect person. You give birth and then your insecurities, your fears, your anxieties, everything gets so it gets exponentially bigger, because now you have another human that depends on you fully. So you have, if you're sensitive, as most people are, one starts examining that right away, and you start making corrections as fast as you can, depending on your level of awareness. So for me personally, it's been like huge. I'm making huge change in my lifestyle since I got Gabriel, like huge. And it's not that my lifestyle was any bizarre, but for example, because I can't afford to be sick, I had a sort of a reflux issue. And as soon as I was diagnosed, I became vegan. No questions asked, cold turkey from Monday to Tuesday, because I won't rely on medication to fix a problem. I need to fix a problem today. And I know that diet plays a huge role in what we do. So I mean, 2 weeks later, the reflux was like 80% down. And I didn't cold turkey. I didn't complain a whole lot. We went to a vegan store. We packed a bunch of things, and voila, vegan, right?
Problem solving.
Same things with projects. Like we don't have a lot of time to dwell now. So we gotta fix the problem, and we gotta fix the problem with some sort of love and enthusiasm, because we cannot afford to be unhappy either. So I love butter. So I said to Arun, please, the thing that's going to be the hardest for me is finding vegan butter that I liked. And in 24 hours, we did a quick research and we found it. And it's so good that butter eaters are switching to this butter, because it's amazing. I'll pass that to you later.
Yeah, please. I was going to ask that.
Oh, yes, this butter is incredible. And that's funny, but that's part of problem solving, because I said to her, I can't not have my butter, because that's gonna make me unhappy every morning. I like my toast with butter.
She loves her toast. Yes.
So, and now Gabriel does. So you see, I mean, I would love to be more poetic.
No, because this is life. That's how you say it. Yeah.
But it's the practical things. When you see and when you ought to the changes, it's not a macro existential. It doesn't happen that you wake up one day and you go like, I'm going to become a vegan because it's the right thing to do. No, you wake up and we have a health issue. We need to protect the environment. I've been thinking about this for the longest time. I've been stalling on this. I have reflux. Good thing. Let's
go.
Right? And
now is the time.
Yeah.
And I think finally, I would just like to ask you guys, what has been so far your biggest struggle?
Our biggest struggle, I think right now for me is just finishing things. I have several projects that are all in various stages. Some are really close to getting done. Some are halfway done. Some are just in development, as we love to say. So right now I'm just struggling with just getting things done. Just because my mind gets, I'm working on this, doing this. So right now, my biggest struggle is just getting things out of the gate. And I keep coming back to one of my favorite phrases when it comes to finishing films, is that no film is ever finished. It's just simply abandoned. I think George Lucas said that. And I've got to remember that. You could work on these things for the rest of your life. And eventually you just got to say, okay, this is what it is, put it out there. And right now, that's my biggest struggle.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest struggle still is to be comfortable, to kindly always remember to put my foot down when it's necessary. It is incredible how you go in and direct and you're with a male crew sometimes, and on one way or another you're reminded that you're a woman, and that if you want your vision to be accomplished, you have to be comfortable to put your foot down and not allow kindness to leave your body. I remember in one of my films, I wanted a shot that I knew for a fact that I could pull off, and I had my whole crew telling me
that you can't.
That you can't, and you're not going to get it done. It's just not possible. It's going to be too expensive. You're not going to complete your day. You're wasting your time. And I was working with people who love me and respect me, but it's a bias. It's a bias that's entrenched. So for me, it's, as a producer, not a problem. But as a director, there is this thing where if we're female directors still, we need to be comfortable. And I get away with it. Like, I put my foot down, but it's always, I have this thought where I go and say, why do I still have to put my foot down? Why am I not here the first time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
As if I were a male filmmaker, because that would be fun.
I will say it is something, it's actually been a lot of fun watching you direct your latest film, because it's inspired me to become more confident in my choices as well. Because too often I give up and I put on my producer hat and I thought, oh, it's going to cost too much, it's going to take too much time. And sometimes you got to throw that hat off and think strictly as the director and as the artist and say, no, this is what I want to get. This is what I want to achieve. Ignore everything else. And it's been great just to kind of watch you go through that, because it's made me realize I need to step up my game a little bit too.
Oh my God, guys, this has been great. Thank you so much. You gave us more than we were looking for.
The potatoes, Holland.
The potato.
The potato, let's see.
Hello.
Hello.
Say hi.
She's so big.
Hola.
Say hello. Yeah, that's Mama on screen, isn't it? That's you. Yeah, that's you.
Okay, let's say goodbye. Te voy a poner en la cámara, hija. Wow. Okay.
You say
Dile ciao, ciao.
you say goodbye.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to give us a review and share this with someone you think might need it.
Also, share with us your favorite quote.
You can find more information about the podcast and our guests on the website FilmStruggles.com.
Remember to follow us at FilmStruggles on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Thank you for listening.
See you next week with a new guest
and a brand new struggle.
FilmStruggles is hosted, produced, and edited by Claudia Hernandez Barragan and Gabriel Sousa Nunes.
Executive producer is Gerson Carranza and sound design by Sebastian Sagastumi.